It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Athletes Unlimited volleyball player, Cori Crocker. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional volleyball?
Yeah. So while I was at the University of Michigan, I viewed myself as an athlete, period. And there was nothing else to me other than just being this athlete. And then when the time came and I graduated college and I went off to play pro for my first season, it was the worst experience of my entire life. And I hated every second of it. And I completely threw playing professional volleyball in the garbage. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never going to step foot in the volleyball court as an athlete again. And I transitioned into becoming a coach. And then it wasn't until the Athletes Unlimited opportunity got thrown in my face. And I mean, I didn't have a choice. I had to say yes at this point. You know, I have Jordan Larson calling me and like, there was nothing else that I could say, but yes, I'm going to be there. And I still wasn't really sure if that was something that I wanted to pursue, but I had such an amazing experience there that it absolutely just relit that spark and motivated me to actually pursue my professional volleyball career for the next few years. And here I am out in Germany living my best life and happy that I had the opportunity down in Dallas to get back into the gym and just remind myself of why I do this and why I love it so much.
What was your college time like at Michigan?
I would have to say trials and tribulations. It was definitely lots of ups and downs, lots of just challenges. But at the end of the day, I think I grew a lot and I wouldn't change a thing.
What was it like the first time you got to put on your college jersey?
Man, playing for the University of Michigan is definitely one of those things that, like, in retrospect, it feels way more powerful than it did in that moment. You know, you put on the maize and blue and you're like, oh my God, I'm wearing Michigan, you know, and it's more just, okay, let's go kick Ohio State's butt. And you're very in the moment and you're not really thinking about the fact that you are representing one of the most historically significant universities in the world, you know, and like looking back on it, it's one of my favorite fondest memories is representing the Block M and being able to say that I'm a Michigan alum.
Of course, what was it like coming out of Michigan going straight to Starling volleyball?
So I joined up with Starlings when I was down in Dallas with AU, and that was a freak thing. Like it was an awesome opportunity to be able to work with a nonprofit while we were competing down in AU. And I was one of the last people to join the professional scene down there. So there was a big list and it was the only one that was left open. And I was like, okay, well, what is it? You know, and it was Starlings and it embodied everything that I have ever felt was like problematic with the sport that I chose to play in college. I was a basketball player to start off with, and then I transitioned into volleyball. And one of the biggest issues that I had was just the privilege that it took to even participate in the sport of volleyball to begin with, you know, and being able to be a part of Starlings, which worked tirelessly to grant other underprivileged young women the opportunity to just try the sport and to compete and to play. And like, I was so honored to be a part of Starlings and still hope to be a part of them for the foreseeable future.
What was it like, of course, in 2017, playing for USA volleyball, the collegiate national team?
That was one of my favorite volleyball experiences, honestly. It was a group of, I'll never forget, you know, you make this team and it's super, super, super intimidating. Like every single one of the girls on this team are the best of the best, right? So we walk into the gym on the first day in Croatia and we're using a different ball. It's like the international volleyball rather than the one that we use in college, the Moulton and Wilson and all that stuff. And it floats different and it travels different and it hits your platform differently. It's, you know, So all of us are shanking every pass. Nobody can make a serve. Everyone is just, and you thought that you looked like garbage. Like you're so worried that everybody thinks that you're not good enough to be here. And that night, we're like breaking the tension, having a conversation, and everyone starts looking at each other like, that was a terrible practice, right? Like, oh my God, those balls are so hard to pass, right? And then, we started grooving, and it was great to be a part of a team that at the end of the day, everybody wanted to win more than anything else. And being able to compete with a bunch of women, a group of women that genuinely put the win above all else, just made it a spectacular experience. And we ended up winning the entire cup. And it was awesome. It was one of my favorite like college experiences for sure.
Of course, talking about that, what was it like traveling the world to obviously Europe and playing in the global challenge?
It was, amazing. I made some awesome friends while I was there on these international, the Italian teams, and just understanding that it doesn't matter where you are, but that the sport of volleyball is an internationally loved game, and that regardless of where you are on the planet, everybody can still have this passion and this just obsession for the same sport. And even if it is kind of in different fonts, like different places have different styles of game, and being able to be exposed to those different types of styles of play was super eye-opening. And I've definitely, even now, like in my professional career, really love being thrown into different styles of volleyball. Even though it's the same sport, there are still really big differences in just like the style of play. And I really love that about volleyball, that you can go across the globe, and even though it's the same sport, it's a little different. And I think it's really cool.
What has it been like for you to obviously travel the world and especially internationally and play volleyball?
It's been, I mean, we utilize our bodies for sport, and I'm so grateful that my body is built to be an athlete, and that I get to use it not only to, compete and to scream my butt off and to have a bunch of fun and compete and do all those, all of the things that my sport has been able to grant. Like the opportunities that I've had through sport are out of this world. Like I've been able to, like you said, travel the world and see amazing things, eat all different types of food, understand like American cuisine is not the best cuisine. Like there's so many things to experience. And I'm just so grateful that the sport that I love has given me opportunities to go experience all of these awesome things that the world has to offer. So it's awesome.
How has, of course, traveling the world to play volleyball helped you with now being with Athletes Unlimited?
Um, I think that it definitely opened me up to the opportunity to like how quickly the teams changed, and how there were 44 girls and we were all kind of thrown together all at the same time. I think that participating in international volleyball kind of gets you comfortable with the chaos. And if you can't embrace the change, then you're not going to enjoy your experiences. And Athletes Unlimited was, even though it was in America, like there were lots of changes going on and lots of things to constantly be adjusting to. And thanks to my international experiences, I think I was more capable of being where my feet were and genuinely embracing and enjoying all that Athletes Unlimited had to offer, for sure.
Of course, with the changes with Athletes Unlimited and changing teams, what was that like for you to obviously change teams when you've known, of course, overseas, internationally, you were on one team and you were only on one team?
And even in college, like you don't get to switch over teams and be with somebody else. Like you build these long lasting bonds and relationships. I think it was kind of twofold with the changing of teams. Like, first of all, you were close with everybody. All 44 of us were all friends. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like it was just, that was awesome. And not only that, but there were a bunch of Big Ten girls in that Athletes Unlimited. And so competing against those women, like there's a persona that you associate with everybody that you compete with, especially at that level in the Big Ten. Like they're not as human as they really are to you. They're just like this, Taylor Sambothy or Tiffany Clark or like Taylor Morgan, they're just these others. And you have this identity that you associate with them, but then you get to know them off the court. And one of my favorite parts about Athletes Unlimited was the women that were across the net from you. They weren't just these people that you were competing against, like you knew them personally, and we could communicate and compete like together, even though we were against each other. And it just elevated the competitive experience. Like it just made it so much more fun. And even though it was changing quickly and rapidly, like we had to come together quickly and figure out how we were going to beat this other team's butt. And but understanding each other and like having that friendship off the court just made competing against all these different people so much more fun. And I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Of course, the first time you got to play with Athletes Unlimited, what was it like knowing, obviously, let's say there might be an Ohio State player, and obviously with Michigan being their rival, what was that like to obviously be like, okay, well, Ohio State has always been my rival, but now I got to play with this Ohio State alum?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I knew like, I mean, Taylor Sambothe is a really good example. Like I knew her, we competed against each other in college. So, but play, like getting to know them off the court really just kind of melted away all of those things that you held on to when you were competing against them in college. Like they weren't human beings, you know, they were just Ohio State. And so being able to compete with them at Athletes Unlimited, it absolutely changed the way that I viewed a lot of the people that I competed against in the Big Ten, because they became people, you know, they became humans, they became super funny and really good friends of mine, honestly, that relationships that I built that I still have now that I never would have had just by competing against them in the Big Ten. So in that way, I'm really grateful to have been able to compete with so many Big Ten athletes, because I was able to connect with them in a completely different way that, you know, really like transformed our relationship totally. Like now I can say that I'm friends with Taylor Sambothe, and if you'd asked me in college, you know, I would never have even come close to saying something like that, you know. So I was really grateful to have all of the interactions that I was having, just because it, you know, it humanized everybody. And I actually ended up liking, you know, all of them.
What was the feeling like whenever you got to put on your volleyball jersey internationally for the first time?
In Peru or in Germany?
In Peru and then Germany.
So Peru was really interesting, because I think that, well, for me, when I was competing in college, my goals, like the reason why I showed up to practice every single day, was to become an All-American and win a Natty Champ and win the Big Ten, right? So like I had these things that I was going after and that I gave everything that I had. Like I went into the weight room, and like that's why I was weightlifting, was so I could attain these goals. And when I got to Peru, that was the first time that all of those things were taken away from me. And I put on that jersey, and it was like, well, why am I here? Like what am I fighting for? I don't even know what the championship is. I don't know what this conference is. I don't know what this league is. I don't know any of these people. And you know, COVID hit and all these things. And so it was really, it kind of was like, I had to look in the mirror and identify like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Why are you here? What are your goals? And I think that's why I struggled so much, and why I ended up hating my experience while I was there, because I really, for the first time, like I had to play for me, and I didn't really know what that was all about. And that's why I quickly got out of there. And, you know, COVID made that something that, you know, was really easy to do, but I was like, all right, I don't know why I wanted to go there in the first place. Like, I don't want anything to do with this, and I'm going to go coach. And then like Athletes Unlimited kind of rewoken that competitor in me, and like my love for the game, but intrinsically, like what I wanted to do and how I wanted to compete, and why I participated, because I love it. I love screaming. I love jumping out of the gym. I love banging balls and blocking people. And, you know, it just kind of transformed the way that I viewed myself and the way that I compete in my sport. And then like being in Germany, you know, now I'm able to fully embrace all that it means to be a part of a team and a part of a unit. And not only am I excited to, you know, compete in this league and win as well as we can and do as well as we can, but at the same time, like for Cori Crocker, like I'm excited to do the best that I possibly can for me while I'm wearing this jersey, and really having pride in my name and what I'm creating for myself. And so in that way, it's definitely been a really big shift, but I think in a really positive way.
What was it like whenever you got to put on the Athletes Unlimited jerseys?
So there were different pretty colors, right? So like that was a lot of fun and all the change, and it was kind of surreal. One of the biggest putting on the jersey moments for me was when I was competing with Jordan Larson, which I'm sure a lot of people would say is one of the, just mind-blowing experiences. It's really difficult to say whether or not I think it was harder at first to compete with her than it was to compete against her, because competing with her, like, you felt like you needed to do everything that you possibly could to produce for Jordan Larson. Like, how can I be in service to her in the absolute 100% best way that I possibly, but then to compete against her, it's just a challenge. Like, okay, well, I'm going to try to block her. And, so putting on that jersey for the first time, being on the same squad as her was just unbelievable. Like, I felt so honored and really like I had to be the best version of myself. But, like we always say, it's like you think that you have to be all of these things, but all you really have to do is be be yourself and give everything that you have. And that's what got you that opportunity in the first place. But a funny story that I will never, ever forget was competing against her for the first time. Normally when you're blocking, like, I'm sure that you haven't jumped and blocked and, but like when you're going to block a ball, you're looking at the ball, you're looking at everything else. Like, the person is usually watching the ball. They're looking at nothing. I went up to block Jordan Larson, and I'm going and I'm pressing and I put my hands across the net, and in midair, like, she's jumping, the ball is there. She looks me dead in the eyes, like, takes her head off the ball. And as I'm going to block her, makes eye contact with me. And I was shook. Like, I'm literally in the middle of it. I'm like, what are you looking at me for? Because she was so aware of the ball, of the court, that like she had time mentally to take her eyes off the ball, look me dead in the eyes, and then go, okay, boom. And I'm going to go right here around you, whatever. And I will never forget Jordan Larson locking eyeballs with me, like, as I'm midair. And then as we played, you realize that was just how she played, because she was just at that level that she could give herself that amount of time, and like literally craziness. I will never forget that, and for the rest of my life. But she is the goddess.
What are some of your game day routines and rituals that you had during the international to transfer over to Athletes Unlimited?
Two things. Dance party. I'm super musically inclined, and like I definitely need to be in my zone and bumping tunes, and whether I bring people with me or not, like I got to be dancing and vibing and just having a good time and being comfortable being uncomfortable. And then second thing is coffee. And I think that they kind of got me while I was there. They definitely videotaped me with my coffee, and I'm like a caffeine fiend. And so walking into a match, like I have to have my coffee. And you haven't seen it, but I already drank a pot of coffee before I got there. And then I have to bring my coffee with me. Like I need my coffee. So it's like music, coffee, let's get hyped up. Let's have some energy. Like, let's have some fun are definitely my rituals.
Of course, what are some of your favorite memories and moments that you had internationally and, of course, with Athletes Unlimited so far?
Internationally, I think right now it has to be competing with Tiffany Clark, who's my roommate right now, and Lexi Hart, who was a competitor of mine at Minnesota. We're all on the same team now. And it's a really unique experience. And I'm so grateful to be able to compete with Big Ten players and be on the same side of the net as all of them and bring together all of our high level competitive experiences and now go after German teams and kick some butt and bring that American side of us, over and just kind of put all of our energies together, and instead of competing against one another, but being able to bring it all together and now go after somebody. So like, that's awesome. And competing, we're in preseason right now, but practicing together every single day, like that's just a super unique experience that I love. And Athletes Unlimited, it had to be at the finish of all of it. And to be a part of that inaugural season of American Volleyball Professional League, it was just, you recognized a lot, like when we talked about being a part of the Block M, like it was something that was bigger than me. It was something that we all together had cultivated this awesome unity of really just badass women that were going to hopefully, change the way that professional volleyball is run, and hopefully, maintain that American league so that women don't have to do what I'm doing right now and everybody else before us has done, and be competing overseas and away from our families and doing all these things, that it can be something that we can stay in the States and actually make happen. So that was unbelievable to be a part of. And I feel very honored to be a part of that inaugural season.
Of course, what are some of the challenges you face, obviously, besides being away from your family, playing overseas after your time with Athletes Unlimited?
This is stupid, but one of the biggest challenges for me is I love to cook, and I'm in Germany, which is, they have everything that you need. Like, it's not like I'm not in need of anything, but it's like they have feta, but the feta tastes different than the American feta. So like the biggest challenge for me right now is to get my flavors in order and figure out like how to cook and what to put together. And I'm figuring it out right now. I'm making my bratwurst and my sauerkraut, and I'm, doing my American, like I'm getting it all together, but it's definitely the biggest challenge right now was figuring out all my flavors. But outside of that though, everything is great.
How has your professional career helped you into what you are, as you talked about training players? How has that helped you?
Um, I think one of the biggest things is identifying that you yourself as an athlete can choose to create whatever environment you want, wherever you are, whenever you are competing. And I think that young players, especially like when you're coaching young girls, they really depend on the environment to dictate how they feel and what they're experiencing and the way that they're experiencing their sport at that given time. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that you as an individual are in control of how you feel, how you compete, the energy that you bring, regardless of where you are, whether that's an Athletes Unlimited and it's in Dallas, whether that's at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor or Vilsbiburg in Germany. Like, you can be whoever you want to be and bring your own energy and your own presence to any gym or atmosphere, and that the atmosphere itself, the external factors don't dictate how you compete and who you are as an athlete. So bringing all of these experiences that I've had and kind of encouraging young women to have the courage to be their own selves and be whoever they want to be, not just in the practice gym, but also bringing that into the game situation, or we're in a rival gym, or we're in, and all of the environmental factors kind of tell them what to do and how to be. And it's like, no, you be who you are, and who you are in practice. Like, you bring that person to every single experience, because that's how you're going to be the best version of yourself. And I think that I do use my experiences to encourage my athletes to do the same.
What advice would you give college volleyball players looking to play college volleyball and then move on to playing international or obviously professional volleyball?
I think as female athletes specifically, we're kind of steered away from dreaming big as far as your professional careers go with our sport. Like, once college is done, you're no longer an athlete and you got to go become some kind of a professional anything, or a wife, or there's like all of these other roles that you're encouraged to become, but being a professional athlete is not one of them. And I think for me, it's really important that regardless of whatever your dreams or aspirations are, that your gender should not have anything to do with what you can set your sights on. And that regardless of what you want to do, like, just wholeheartedly give everything that you have unapologetically and go after it. And even if people think that you're crazy or try to shoot you down or be like, are you sure that you're, like, just give it everything that you absolutely got and believe in yourself, even when other people don't. And I think that that's something that I wish I had a little bit more when I was in college, but just unapologetically, if you have something you want to go after, freaking go after it, and know that the people that really love and care about you are going to be there to support you. And just freaking go, just do it. Like, YOLO, you only live once, you might as well.
What advice would you give professional volleyball players looking to play professional volleyball and even international volleyball?
I think that international volleyball specifically, but just professional volleyball in general, is a really unique opportunity to take some time and work on yourself. Like there's a lot of downtime and there's a lot of space for you to delve into anything you really want to, but it's a unique experience in that you have a lot of time to yourself. And I feel like learning how to spend time with yourself genuinely and being alone, and not to sound like I'm some, stuck by myself and I'm just lonely all the time, but I feel like it's really important to, rather than trying to distract yourself with friends or with family or boyfriend and, keeping yourself distracted from being alone. I think it's a really valuable opportunity if you can become comfortable being alone and getting more in tune with yourself and working on yourself and taking that time to go read a book and sit in the nature or, go take adventures and kind of get out of your comfort zone. But just building a better relationship with yourself, I feel like is a super underrated part of playing international. And I really value the opportunity to get closer with myself and build a better relationship with myself. And I'm really thankful that I have the time that I do, even though I'm away from the people that I love and, doing all these things. Like in that way, I can still utilize this time to become a better version of myself. And I would encourage others to do the same and spend some time getting to know you.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Instagram, it's Cori Crocker 16. And I added a Twitter when I was over at AU and I don't even know the handle. So that thing I'm getting better at, but definitely Instagram is my major one. And then social media with Facebook, just Cori Crocker would be the best ways to keep up and follow along.
Thank you again, Cori Crocker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future internationally playing and with Athletes Unlimited.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I had a great time. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Cori Crocker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.